Despite a fantastic run, crypto still faces some serious overhead resistance from Bitcoin. And what worries me is we are staring down the barrel of the most important regulatory decision around Bitcoin that we've seen in potentially years, or at least since the Treasury tried to pass this widespread surveillance rule on self-custody, self-hosted wallets towards the end of the Trump administration. Now, where we are right now is facing the infrastructure bill, which if it's voted on in the form that the current White House administration is backing, could essentially treat every miner, every intermediary, every smart contract as if they are a financial broker. And that would mean that they would have to 1099 and create all kinds of financial reporting for literally every single transaction, which is pretty much like criminalizing the way that crypto currently exists. It is a horrific potential piece of legislation. So right now we're going to go through a quick explainer here on what happened with the infrastructure bill last night. This is courtesy of Jake Chervinsky. Jake is a lawyer, but not yours. He's general counsel at Compound Finance, which is of course one of the leading DeFi protocols, and he works in DC helping shape policy on behalf of crypto projects. So he's kind of the guy at the center of this debate, or he's one of them. He says, as a refresher, the current Infra Bill has a draft provision expanding the tax code definition of broker to include any person who, for consideration, is responsible for regularly providing any service effectuating transfers of digital assets on behalf of another person. And this is very, very vague and could be used to mean that any miner, any smart contract, any entity that does any asset transfers, this could mean literally everyone. The definition is wildly overbroad. It captures nearly everyone in crypto, forcing them all to surveil users in order to comply with tax reporting obligations. We spent all week asking Congress to remove it, change it, add exemptions for miners, developers, and many others. Thankfully, some smart senators understood that the language in the original draft was unworkable. It treats everyone in crypto like a traditional financial institution, no matter how different they are, and forces them to report data to the IRS that they don't have to and can't get. And then we got a couple senators who understood, like Ron Wyden, who said the Republican provision in the bipartisan infrastructure framework isn't close to being that solution. It's an attempt to apply a brick and mortar rules to the internet and fails to understand how the technology works. We got more pile-on from Senator Loomis, and we got more pile-on from Senator Toomey. Now, all three of them, a bipartisan group, one Democrat and two Republicans, put together an amendment fixing the worst issue in the bill. And this is the big thing, is that they reworded this so that the amendment clarifies that certain non-custodial actors like miners and developers aren't covered by the broker rule, right? If you're not a custodian, you shouldn't be considered an intermediary. So this is the rewriting of the bill. I'm not going to read it here. I'll pause here on the screen. You can go ahead and pause this video and read it if you like. Now, the amendment was set for a vote yesterday and appeared likely to pass. It had strong support, thanks largely to all your calls. Again, if you guys haven't called, there's a link in my bio, or a link in the description of this video rather, and it explains how you can call your local representative. There's a script you can read. It literally is the easiest possible way for you to make your voice heard in your local jurisdiction. Even Senator Portman, who led negotiations on the original crypto provision for the Republicans, suggested he was for it. I agree with Senators Wyden, Toomey, and Loomis that we can do more to clarify the intent of the crypto provision, and the Senate should vote on their amendment. Cool. So then we get a DC flip-flop. This was what we call an 11th hour change by DC, which apparently was dreamed up entirely by the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who we know is not a fan of crypto and trying to essentially criminalize it. So we get this DC flip-flop so fast it'll make your head spin. Senator Portman proposed his own competing amendment co-sponsored by Senator Warner, a Democrat. The Portman-Warner amendment is worse than useless. It doesn't even come close to passing the laugh test. It only accepts A, validating distributed ledger transactions through proof of work mining, literally named only POW, why? Or B, selling hardware or software for the sole function of which is to permit a person to control a private key used for accessing digital assets on a distributed ledger, which is like such a very tiny specific exemption. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, the Portman-Warner protects POW miners and some, but not all, wallet projects. That's it. Clown emoji. Not a software developer or Lightning node operator or a POS validator or DEX max liquidity provider or a DeFi aggregator or so many of the non-custodial actors who can't comply with the law. What really gets me is how Portman Warner cuts out a subsection C from the Wyden Loomis Toomey, which simply protects developers who write code and don't sell anything. This is crazy that you're criminalizing those who write the code. Absolutely crazy, even if they're not making any money. This is a basic First Amendment freedom of speech issue. It is jaw-dropping for two sitting senators not to get that. So now here's the deal. We have two competing bills, one good one absolutely horrific, terrible, potentially catastrophic here. I don't want to ring too many alarm bells here as it is an emotional moment here. Right now, it feels bullish. But again, you can see here why without us breaking any big levels of resistance and having this looming over our heads during the weekend of all times is a very, very, very strange and precarious setup that screams to have caution here. So here's where we find ourselves. Good policy apparently isn't the priority here. Instead, it looks like continuation of U.S. Treasury Department to embrace a warrantless surveillance and crusade against financial privacy in crypto. The strategy is new, but the motivation is not. Word is in DC that the whole thing was Treasury's idea. They don't like what we're building, and their solution is to obtain jurisdiction over non-custodial actors. They tried via FinCEN's proposed rule change last year. Now they're trying again. Problem is that they might succeed this time. Portman Warner is DC gamesmanship at its worst because this infrastructure bill is like a must pass. But have to give it to them, it's a nifty political trick. Although the amendment is garbage, Senator Warner's involvement makes it, quote, bipartisan, which means Dems can vote for it. Dems say that we fix the crypto provision without actually fixing the crypto provision, which requires voting by Wyden Loomis Toomey. Instead, even the White House jumped in with a push from Treasury, perhaps, to give Dems cover for the strategy. And so we now have late-breaking White House is coming out formally in support of the Warner-Portman-Sinema crypto amendment, implicitly against the Toomey-Wyden-Loomis plan. Okay, so here's where it gets fun. We can stop them. What we need to do is for you all right now to pause this video or rewatch it at a later time, whatever you want to do. Just please click on the link here. I have it tweeted, retweeted. I have it in the bio or the description of this video rather. Please just call your representatives and make your voice heard. It's not hard. It takes 30 seconds. So anyway, I'm going to cut to the chase here. Even after this, if we fail, the provision won't take place until 2023 at the earliest, so we can keep fighting to reverse it in Congress or overturn it in the courts. Let's cross that bridge if and when we get there. For now, the only really thing that matters, call your senators. Please call your senators. On a brighter note, we do have Pentoshi weighing in saying, I have no idea what to expect from the bill once passed for BTC. The CEO of Kraken, Jesse, having a meltdown, but it is what it is. Volatility equals opportunities. This is the name of the game. Probably ends up being forgotten as always. Bitcoin is anti-fragile, hacks, regulations, FUD, yet we are here. We also have DC Investor saying, imagine if the US had hamstrung the internet backbone providers from operating in the US. The internet wouldn't stop. It would march along, changing the world, but the US would be cut out of it. And this is the part I just simply cannot understand, why the most disruptive and promising technology of the 21st century is being completely blocked by the United States when they have a chance to actually be leaders here. It is so backwards and so confusing, but really the net effect here is, for me as an American, if stuff like this starts going through, we will move our operations elsewhere. We will leave this country and we will bring the innovation to jurisdictions that are friendly and that are hospitable of this amazing new technology. Crypto continues, and there will be countries desperate to jump in and be a hospitable home to collect tax revenue and other kinds of benefits, all the extra jobs and all the extra potential economic stimulation that this industry will offer. So this is a huge, huge error by the United States, and it won't stop crypto. It'll just essentially cut Americans out of it, which is really sad as an American. So a little bit of process here. Jerry Brito says, here's what's going to happen. The Wyden Loomis Toomey bill will be voted on first, then the Warner bill voted on. 50 votes is the threshold to pass. Not clear if what happens if both get 50 plus. He clarifies, correction, Warner's amendment will be voted on first, then Wyden Loomis Toomey, and 50 vote threshold for both. If both get 50 votes, the Wyden amendment will win. I guess that means tie goes to crypto because Wyden amendment is good for us. So I guess that's what's going on. Barry Silbert says, having fun yet? And Jerry Brito says, pretty certain it's a fever dream. So anyway, it feels like we are stumbling through the simulation of crypto regulation. And it's anyone's guess how this ends up. But again, as you're seeing, there are layers and processes here. And hopefully, by the time it's all said and done, we get something that is a friend of innovation and potentially stimulates America being a leader in the whole crypto race. We have Eric Voorhees weighing in saying, American politicians politicians are about to bit license Americans out of DeFi. Again, this is a horrible, horrible reality if this goes through in its current form for Americans. Ryan Sean Adams is saying crypto is only getting more political, not less. It's now entered the halls of every major government across the world. This is a necessary step in the adoption cycle. We now have the world's attention. I hope we're ready. And so this is a very interesting statement that I think summarizes the opportunity and the threat. We're in a moment of crisis. We're in a moment of decision making, and it's up to us to shape that moment. We have the opportunity to shape that moment. It's up to you to call your senators. It's up to you to make your voice heard. And if we let these laws be shaped for us instead of shaping them with the people in power, then we will be making the mistake of letting this industry get regulated the wrong way. Now, there's infinite money in crypto. It feels like money is everywhere. Well, where's the money for these politicians to help them understand and educate them? Every other industry is spending like crazy, and it really disappoints me that we haven't been able to voice ourselves with our economic power here in crypto land. And I think that that's going to be a huge missing step here, to really have the lobbyists understand and educate the politicians about what crypto is and what the important issues are and how to facilitate its maturity to be something that is transparent and creates all kinds of opportunities for people around the world. That's the big challenge right now. Now, time to go down the rabbit hole and explore some conspiracy theories here, because we still have this news pouring in about big banks opening up crypto services. And this is as the essential government is trying to make it so that every single crypto service provider is treated like a bank. Maybe there is some coordination here. I'm almost certain of it, that you see news articles like this tied around the infrastructure bill talks. It's pretty obvious that this is a big bank regulation coming in to kind of crush and criminalize self-custody and non-bank oriented financial institutions. This is a way for the banks to say, oh, you want to do DeFi? Yeah, you got to do it through us. And that is a horrific and sad way for the crypto movement to be going. And in my opinion, this is without a doubt no coincidence that you're seeing this particular headline on the same day as the infrastructure bill is slipping in anti-self-custody, anti-DeFi, anti-proof of stake mechanisms here. Switching gears though, we do have some amazing early results out of Ethereum's first day of EIP 1559, where we actually got our first deflationary block. That's right. We now have a block that is putting out less new Ethereum into the world than was burned with the EIP 1559 change. That means that we have one example of a block in the current form of Ethereum that actually has reduced the overall supply of Ethereum. This is the future of Ethereum, which is deflationary. And we've already seen it in the first day. Now, it's worth noting that over the time, as we transition to proof of stake, the actual emissions for new Ethereum will go down, and that transition will mean that it's easier for ETH to become deflationary, and that will probably come in tandem with increased usage, increased base fees burned, and that means that we'll be burning more and emitting less, which is a fantastic, fantastic way to put a supply shock in full effect. We have here Anthony Sassano saying $10 million of ETH has now been burned, and that was this morning. It was actually yesterday, so it's probably been a lot more than that now. So you can see how powerful this burn mechanism is. $10 million, that's a lot of Ethereum just to get burned in one day. And this is as Ethereum usage is very low compared to where it was just a few months ago. Could you imagine with the insanity that was the mid-February and March gas wars constantly, how important this will be to see all this gas being burned, all this ETH being burned? And given that JPEGs are the flavor of the month, it's pretty important to realize here that the arrival of EIP 1559 further ossifies the symbolic relationship between Ethereum and NFTs. Ethereum provides NFTs with programmable and essentially timeless infrastructure, and now NFTs now service Ethereum's security directly. This is because, of course, there's all these gas wars as new NFTs are being dropped and collections are becoming more and more sought after for gains. And essentially, the bots and the flippers and the opportunists are coming out just like they were for IDOs. And that means more and more Ethereum gas being burned, which, of course, creates more security for the network. It's very, very symbiotic here. These things are going to get more and more interesting on the ETH leaderboards as top NFT projects continue to grow and more NFT projects continue to arrive. Even in the case of Axie Infinity, which has its own bespoke sidechain now, all roads, rather plenty of fees, head back to Ethereum. That the Ethereum community can collectively pull off an upgrade of this scale and importance suggests Ethereum and its NFT ecosystem are poised to last and thrive. I couldn't agree more. And piling on here, we see ETH burned so far from today's apps, a sign of the current times, JPEG summer. OpenSea burning 277 ETH today. Uniswap just 197. That shows you the change here that's happened in the actual activity and the actual usage of the Ethereum network here. It's a pretty incredible statistic just to see this, even for one day. And what can I say? I did tell you guys we were going to get NFT summer, and wow, it has been fantastic and overwhelming, the amount of excitement in NFT land. We're not going to go too deep on NFTs right now. As you can see, we have a lot that we've covered between regulation, the processes in Washington, what's going on with Ethereum, which, by the way, if you don't realize how important this stuff is, Ethereum mining, according to this article, will soon be obsolete, right? And this is as Ethereum moves towards proof of stake. And this is as they're essentially enshrining proof of work, with miners being the only people excluded from this reporting obligation. They're essentially enshrining proof of work, but with all the environmental FUD, it's very unlikely that proof of work is the future of crypto completely. And so this is a very, very precarious position for Ethereum to be in right now, and we all need to stand up and make our voices heard. And finally, I wanted to end with something fun. Obviously, we're having the phases of the moon. This is a chart that's been floating around as the full moons and the new moons here are actually marking major pivots of the crypto markets. As you can see, a full moon seems to be what pumps the bags, and a new moon or quarter moon seems to dump the bags. I don't know. It's up to you guys. Let me know what you guys think about the moon phases and how important they are on the Bitcoin market. My fiance is super into astrology, and so she's been showing me some really interesting TA based on astrological patterns, and I will say it's actually shockingly accurate, worth taking a look at, even if it's just for fun. Take a look at this. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. So there you have it. We're fighting for our basic freedoms here in crypto land, right as banks seem to be emerging with their own competing solutions, clearly behind the draft bills that would be criminalizing self-custody, the free and open crypto environment that we've come to know and love. And meanwhile, we're seeing NFTs come out and be the primary driver of burning on Ethereum. It is quite a sight to behold. As an NFT lover and project founder myself, I couldn't be more excited about the climate that is being cultivated around NFTs, Ethereum, and this entire narrative. It is such an amazing time to be alive, but I don't want to get too overly bullish right now, as we are still facing some precarious legal outcomes with the infrastructure bill, and we have yet to break through the huge resistance at 45 and 49 before we will really be back to a full-blown bullish posturing. Although it's really good, the progress we've seen, constructive, we still have some time to work through this, and with a looming threat of this infrastructure bill, I'm holding onto my seat, preparing for what could be a very volatile next few days. The vote is on Saturday, so make sure you make your voices heard today. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you got some value out of it, make sure you smash that like button. I'm Elio Trades. You can find me on Twitter at Elio Trades. The link is in the description. Make sure you avoid the scammers in the comments. It's impossible to get rid of them. YouTube provides no ability for me to filter them, but make sure you don't fall for a fake Elio asking you for money. I'll never ask you for money. If you guys want more videos like this, smash that subscribe button, destroy it, and put that bell notification on. It's the way to get around any gatekeeping here on YouTube. And of course, if you guys want my calls, I've been calling some of the biggest, most successful trends in crypto since the crash, even with the gaming and NFT wave, with collections like Bored Ape Yacht Club, all the different avatar collections. We are one of the only resources here on YouTube actually providing you this information, which has minted crazy money for everyone who's been participating in this movement over the last few days and weeks. So shout out to you guys who took risks and played ball and won. Again, you deserve the credit, but if you guys want this alpha first and early, all you got to do is subscribe and put that bell notification on, and we'll be bringing you daily updates with the absolute best and most actionable information in the space. As always, my name's Elio Trades. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.